As you might remember, I recently uploaded a video about my views on human sexuality. Within a few hours, that video got close to 400 comments and very negative feedback. Despite it being quickly removed, that upload made me realize that things went in the wrong direction on this channel. When I made that video, I ignored every single message shared with me by machine elves and all of my life wisdom gathered over the years. Knowledge is one thing, but putting the knowledge into practice, that's a whole different story. I learned that if there's an area of my life where I'm strongly disconnected from my spirituality, sexuality would be it. And it seems the entities used you to guide me in the right direction. I know that they do not interact with this dimension much, but sometimes I feel that they do push things to happen in a certain way. What they did not want to explain to me, you taught me with your comments and messages, which I'm really grateful for. This video was the moment when I realized it's time to stop being in conflict with myself and embrace my human existence. It was a turning point for this channel and a very important reminder that these messages are supposed to serve you and not be a frustration outlet for me. All your comments and messages taught me a lot about what it is that we as humans are supposed to experience here sexually. I was humbled and embarrassed how smart and mature you were and how much wisdom you had to offer to me and everyone reading the comments. I want to thank especially women, since only 1/5 of you here are female. Many of my opinions did not take into account women's perspective, and your input was very valuable to me. Despite me having more than 2 decades of active sexual life, it turns out I know very little about humans and their sexuality. It seems it is one of the most complex human issues to be defined in one simple video. I don't think there's many people out there who have enough insight, perspective and knowledge about male and female sexuality to define what it really is about. All I can offer to you is my narrow perspective based on my experiences and the interdimensional lessons I received from the entities, and now also your insight into this matter. This video is going to be a description of the contrast between what I would want for humans, what the reality is, and what the entities told me about human sexuality. Ever since I uploaded that video, I realized and I was actually reminded that having sex is a privilege that should be appreciated and celebrated rather than complained about. My attitude towards it was very spoiled and childish. There were comments that said that while I'm complaining about not having access to unlimited sex, there are people who don't even have friends. It was very disrespectful of me to be so negative about this issue. As I said before, we're all learning together. So this video will be partially material from the previous video and partially a list of reasons why I was wrong about human sexuality, and I hope that it still helps you to understand your own sexuality and why we have these sexual norms in our society. I will start from talking about what makes human sexuality so fascinating to me. Sex is probably my favorite thing about humans. Human body is beautiful. I think it is a sophisticated, pleasure-generating device, and I admire its complexity. For me, the female body is one of the most beautiful things there is in life. I'm aware that my DNA was coded to perceive it like that, but I do enjoy this aspect of being a human. Sex and music are to me psychedelic tools available for everyone in everyday life. They change my mood, they make me happy, and they relax me. Sex is a physical experience that affects my mental state. It is like medicine to me. It cures my anxiety and my depression, and it acts as a muscle relaxant. I think orgasm is the only thing in a normal state of mind that allows humans to have a psychedelic connection. It is the highest vibrational frequency we can achieve, and the fact that it opens a portal to another dimension and no one has really paid attention to it is mind-boggling to me. There is still so much we don't understand about ourselves. Sex is the only state that allows the consciousness of two bodies to become one. It is a transcendental experience that if you were to experience as an alien, you would probably get addicted to. Sex is an incredible amplifier of love, and I think that sex for some of us is also the ultimate expression of love. Sex generates the strongest emotions possible. In connection with love, it is the most powerful method of raising vibrational frequency. The entities showed me some green energy fixing our body cells during an orgasm, and I believe that there are unknown healing properties of sex that we ignore. I really like the power of my sexual imagination. To me, it is much better than porn, and I often wonder if others can enjoy the creative abilities of their minds in the same way. I love how we access somebody's hidden alter ego through sex. I love how intimate it becomes, and that in this moment you're the only one who gets access to it. I think of it as a reward for the effort you put into the relationship and the interaction that led to it. You get access to the knowledge about what they look naked, what they smell like, how passionate they are, and so many other things. This secret sexual persona of every human is something that really fascinates me. I really like how sex makes everyone equal. When it comes to sexuality, there is no hierarchy. No matter who you are, you will behave the same in bed as the rest of humans. I hope I get to live to a moment in our life when technology allows us to access somebody's mind. I would love to experience female sexuality to see if it really is that different from ours. Everything that the entities tell me is very wise and valuable, but sex is the only reason for my arguments with them. Machine elves are powerful, interdimensional divine beings with supernatural knowledge, yet me, a tiny human, dares to disagree with their plans for the purpose of my existence here. The sexuality of my human form in this dimension is really a challenge to me, and it is probably the biggest struggle that I have. It is mainly because of the conflict between me having the awareness of the metaphysical nature of sex and the social restrictions limiting my ability to freely explore human sexuality in the way I want to. The entities explain it to me in the following way. Your tools in form of your talents that you receive to do your job here make you such an interesting person that we had to add some obstacles and problems to your life that push people away from you so that you can concentrate on your path rather than the sexual interaction with people. You need to do your job. The reason why this happens is that you're on an important journey and women cause too big of an emotional ride, introducing too much chaos into your life. Your path doesn't allow that. You need to walk your path with no major disturbances. Like with everything else, they did provide me with an explanation to how my past and current sexual experiences affected who I am, at the same time telling me that they are partially in control of my sex life. I'm a very sexual person, and it's really difficult being in monogamous relationships with those sexual restrictions and limitations they impose on my life. I understand the reasons they have are important and the bigger picture matters more than my feelings, but it doesn't change the fact that it's physically painful not to be able to commit myself fully to exploring humans through unrestricted access to sex. I trust their wisdom, and I promise myself never to question their decisions regarding my sexual experiences here. Here's the list of human sexuality issues I complain about and the part of the video that changed everything. In that video I complained, sex is an unproductive, unnecessary burden in my life. It distracts me, it takes the joy out of a normal life, and it makes me dependent on another person. All of these are unnecessary for me. I often wonder what it's like to exist in this reality without constant sexual pressure. What it's like to talk to a girl like a human being without subconsciously evaluating her looks and my chances with her. The internal sexual pressure is unhealthy and unbearable. It ruins my self-esteem, causes depression, and is a driver behind many ridiculous situations in my life. I live in the world of higher consciousness, yet I'm enslaved by this bodily function that keeps the rest of my life needs hostage. What I did not take into account here is the explanation by the entities that sex is an inseparable element of romantic love. It is a reward not only for being in higher vibrational frequency, but also for raising another human being's vibration, which in Machine Elf's opinion is the highest form of spiritual development. Being able to make others feel good is a sign of advanced emotional mastery. I don't know how I could have forgotten that. I also complain in that video that if you were to evaluate the pros and cons of being a human, sexual compulsions seem to be the most difficult and unnecessary element of life. It's annoying to me that it is a primitive element of human nature completely not in line with our lives today. We're all striving for conscious, intelligent, and spiritual existence, and sexuality keeps us locked in our primal mode. And then, a few minutes later in the same video, I contradictorily claim that sexuality is the most psychedelic human experience next to music. When done lovingly, sex is obviously one of the most spiritual acts one can engage in without the use of any psychedelics. It is one of the most awe-generating sensations available to us here. It is an extension to our spiritual life rather than an obstacle to it. I also said that I have an issue with the contrast between our sexes, that I don't like how different we are, that I see men and women as mainly incompatible. And then I said that I know that it's possible for two people to find each other and live together happily. It seems I resolved that issue for myself in the same sentence. I should have remembered that the entities told me that sex is often used as a civilizing tool for our behavior. They said that we need to learn how to interact so that we can get to the love stage and then effectively to the sex stage. Men and women are different, but our job is to figure out how to become compatible. Your purpose here is to learn the rules of the opposite sex to make each other happy. Now we get to the part that generated the most controversy. I said, I don't like the fact that humans don't do much to help each other sexually. It costs nothing and it literally saves lives. A deep physical bond, even for a moment, can be a complete life changer for men and women, yet we only do it with a few chosen people throughout our lives. It costs nothing and it is treated as if it was an act requiring an incredible amount of sacrifice. I don't get it. This was the part where my lack of understanding of female sexuality became obvious. And after talking to you and reading some of your really intelligent comments, I realized that sex for women has a completely different meaning and comes with a completely different set of issues than for men. One of the best examples would be the element of fear that women need to take into account in their relationship with a man. It is something that I never have to think about. Although I was aware of that, I foolishly ignored it and I wasn't open-minded enough about our differences. Even despite the fact that I was visited by the interdimensional goddess of sex who explained to me those differences. I also said that I don't like how a sexual relationship changes between people over time and how it is usually the first casualty of a troubled long-term relationship. Instead of developing this element of life, it is usually the one most likely to disappear from a relationship. It becomes mechanical and forced. And again, despite all of my machine elf teachings being about the ability to love and maintain loving states, I did not take it into account. Sex is an indicator of how well you're doing in a relationship with another person, and if it goes away, it means there are some issues that need to be worked on. Sex is a love compass. I had a problem with what I called the socially and legally imposed sexual slavery to your husband, wife, or your partner. I claimed to understand that it is biologically conditioned to preserve the unity of family and that we don't really use sex for reproductive purposes anymore. I said that we could let it go and make each other happy. I had a problem with another human being claiming ownership over the most pleasurable part of your body. I've mentioned many times that the entities told me that this here is a love training ground and I should have been more appreciative of the extraordinary ability for humans to form lifelong bond based on mutual love and respect. What other way to go through love training than by finding a partner who will test our love capabilities in isolated, monogamous environment? Here's what I said about being a man. I don't agree with the ridiculous aspect of male attractiveness being strongly related to money and prosperity. I understand that this has biological, logical, and social foundations. Nevertheless, it is something that makes a man's life very difficult. For a woman to be attractive, all she needs to do is to take good care of herself, but a man can only be truly attractive if he cultivates an interesting personality and has impressive achievements in life. From a biological perspective, I feel it's an unfair imbalance. This was not only inaccurate based on my own life experiences, but also it is the opposite of the information I received from the psychedelic realm. Attraction is relative and it is based on the ability for two people to open and synchronize their communication channels. The factors involved in this will depend on the ability of their higher selves to communicate using the same language. I deleted some of my other statements that made very little sense, but here's the rest of human sexual issues I still would want to address from that old video. I don't like how humans distort sex, how it is sold, manipulated, exchanged, ridiculed, and used as a tool. I don't understand how something so spiritual and beautiful can be used for personal gain. There should be sexual celebration of bodies as pleasure tools, and we don't do that. Instead, we demonize the human body, we cover it up, we remove any nudity from media, and we make sure that no one sees any skin anywhere. This issue of constant competition and the never-ending beauty contest, since we're born unequal and attraction seems to play a major part in it, we're constantly preoccupied with our appearance and how we're being perceived. Physical attractiveness is extremely overrated in our society at the expense of personality and mental capacity. Looks is the unspoken currency of our social system. I think we reach sexual maturity too late in life. Ironically, we get to it still being children, but our brains don't catch up with it until we're in our mid to late 20s, sometimes even later than that. By the time we're emotionally aware of who we are as sexual beings, it is usually already too late to choose our life that would be in line with our sexual needs and preferences. My sexuality started early, around 7 or 8, and I was really frustrated for about a decade, not understanding why there's no structure in human life for my sexual needs at that age. I struggled with the complete embargo on discussing sexuality with grown-ups. I was dying to meet a girl or a woman who would be willing to help me out with my sexual compulsions. It was only when I got older that I understood the social implications of this, but still, it was a nightmarish decade. And finally, my advice for everyone. Enjoy safe sex. Make each other happy and get good at it so that you can create a life that is fulfilling sexually and emotionally. Explore your bodies and learn about its reactions. Have as much sex as possible. Emotional and mental sexual maturity is very liberating, and it will make you a happier and more fulfilled person with a more conscious existence. Enjoy your body, love it, and be proud of it. It is an amazing pleasure-generating device. Thank you for your help in embracing my human form. I hope I'll never have to rewrite any videos, but should it ever happen, I hope you'll guide me again. Here's a quick request for your financial support, since you guys are now my only source of income. There are many methods to do it, and all links are in the video description. Tell me what sex is for you, or what you love or hate about sex in the comment section. I love reading everything you say. The next video will be about what the entities told me about mutual respect and why you need to be nice to fellow travelers on your journey. Please tap the notification bell if you're on YouTube to see a video every time it's being uploaded. I need you to share this video with others so that we keep these messages spreading. Remember about b434.com in case something happened to this channel. And join all other 434 social media for regular updates. Also join my second vlogging channel if you want to hear my stories, and watch the rest of 434 videos. Read the video description for links and more info, and please support the graphic artists and musicians whose productions are used in this video.